I still remember that night. The hospital was quiet, almost too quiet, and the fluorescent lights flickered above the long, empty corridor. The smell of antiseptic mixed with something faintly metallic, like iron, and it made her stomach turn. Maria sat in the small chair outside the ICU room, her hands trembling as she clutched her scarf. The night nurse had gone on her break, leaving her alone with the distant hum of machines and the occasional beeping from the monitors. She could hear the faint wheeze of patients breathing through tubes, the soft shuffle of feet in the far hallway, but otherwise, it was dead silent. Every shadow seemed larger than it should be, and every sound made her jump. Her daughter, Lily, had asked to see the doctor earlier that evening. Maria didn't understand why at first. Lily was usually so gentle, so loving, always worried about her mother's health. But tonight, something in her eyes had been different. There was a strange hardness, a coldness that Maria couldn't place. Lily had whispered something that Maria almost didn't catch. "I don't want her to wake up," Maria had laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke, a trick of the stress and fear. But now, sitting alone in the waiting room, she wasn't sure anymore. The words repeated in her mind, and she couldn't shake them. Outside, the wind rattled the hospital windows. Rain was starting to fall, soft at first, then harder, drumming against the glass like tiny fingers tapping insistently. Maria's heart was racing. She felt the old fear creep in, the fear she had tried to push away since the diagnosis. This was the first time she had been alone here at night, and every shadow seemed like a threat. The floor tiles reflected the dim light, stretching shadows that moved with her every glance. Her chest tightened as she hugged her scarf closer. The doctor, Dr. Hammond, had been kind but distant during the day. He spoke in professional tones, avoiding unnecessary details, but something about his eyes had made Maria uneasy. There was a hesitation, a pause, when Lily had made her request. Maria had caught it, she couldn't explain why, but she knew something was wrong. And now, the waiting room felt heavier, like the walls themselves were holding their breath. Maria's mind raced with questions. Could Lily really have meant what she said? Could she really wish her mother wouldn't wake up? Maria shook her head violently, trying to clear the thought. It was impossible. Her daughter loved her, always had. But then why did her words feel like a knife in her chest? Why did her heart ache with a fear she couldn't name? She rubbed her temples and closed her eyes, trying to calm herself. The faint sound of rain outside seemed to grow louder, echoing the storm inside her head. Suddenly, she heard footsteps in the hallway. Her head snapped up. They were slow, deliberate, coming closer. The echo of the steps bounced off the walls, each tap making her flinch. She wasn't sure if it was Dr. Hammond or someone else. The door to the ICU was slightly ajar, and a soft light spilled into the waiting area. Maria felt drawn to it, as if she needed to see, to understand. She stood, her legs weak, and took a cautious step forward. Her heart pounded in her chest, each beat loud enough to drown out the faint hum of the machines inside. As she approached the door, she saw the shadow of Lily standing there. Maria froze. Her daughter's face was pale, almost ghostly in the dim light. Her eyes were wide, and there was a strange tension in her shoulders. Maria opened her mouth, but no words came out. Lily just stared at her, and for a moment, it felt like time had stopped. Then, in a whisper almost too soft to hear, Lily said, "Mom, they listened to me." Maria's breath caught in her throat. "Listen to you?" "What do you mean, Lily?" she asked, her voice trembling. But Lily didn't answer. She just turned and walked away, disappearing down the corridor before Maria could follow. The sound of her footsteps faded, leaving only the rain and the distant beeping of the monitors. Maria stood frozen, her mind spinning. What had her daughter done? What had she asked the doctor? And why did it feel like the world had tilted on its axis in that single moment? The sound of the ICU door opening made her jump. Dr. Hammond appeared, his face unreadable. "Mrs. Collins," he said quietly, "there's something you need to know." Maria felt her knees go weak. She wanted to sit, to cry, to beg for answers, but she stayed standing, clinging to the edge of the chair. The doctor's eyes were serious, heavy with a weight Maria couldn't understand. "It's about your surgery, and about what Lily asked me to do." Maria's stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" she whispered, her voice shaking. "What did she ask you?" Dr. Hammond looked away, swallowing hard. I can't tell you everything right now," he said, glancing toward the ICU room. "But I need you to prepare yourself. There are things you should know, things you might never forget." The blood seemed to drain from Maria's face. Her hands shook so violently she could barely hold onto the chair. Every instinct told her to run, to leave, to escape this nightmare, but something held her in place. She had to know. She had to understand. The room grew colder suddenly, or maybe it was just the fear that made her feel it. The soft hum of the machines was now a roar in her ears. The rain pounded harder against the windows, and for a moment, Maria felt completely alone in the world. Her daughter had made a request that had been taken seriously. The thought made her stomach twist into knots. She couldn't imagine Lily, so kind, so gentle, asking for something so cruel. And yet, she could see the hardness in her daughter's eyes, the seriousness of her words. Dr. Hammond took a deep breath. "It's not too late," he said finally. "But you need to understand what has happened, and what might happen if." He stopped, letting the words hang in the air like a shadow. Maria didn't need him to finish. The fear was already there, crawling into her bones, freezing her in place. She took a step toward the ICU door, her hands shaking, her heart racing. Every light flicker, every shadow, every sound seemed amplified. She didn't know what she would see inside, but she knew it would change her life forever. She could feel it. Something terrible had begun that night, and there was no turning back. And then, just as she reached for the door handle, a low, urgent whisper came from inside the ICU, "Mom, please don't wake up." Maria froze. Her breath caught. Her heart pounded so loudly she was sure the doctors in the next room could hear it. The words were unmistakable. Her daughter's voice. And they made her blood run cold. She didn't know what to do. Should she open the door? Should she run? Should she try to stop whatever was happening? The rain outside pounded harder. The lights flickered again. Shadows danced across the walls. And Maria realized, with a chill running down her spine, that nothing would ever be the same again. She slowly turned to face Dr. Hammond, her eyes wide with fear. "Tell me," she whispered. "Tell me what's happening. Please, tell me everything." The doctor looked at her, his face pale, his hands trembling slightly. "Mrs. Collins," he said softly, "what your daughter did, it's not something anyone could have imagined. And now, we may have lost control." Maria felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. She wanted to scream, to cry, to beg. But all she could do was stand there, frozen in terror, as the machines inside the ICU continued their steady, unforgiving beeping. And then, a sudden, sharp sound came from inside the room, a sound that made her jump and her heart stop. It was a sound of struggle, muffled, urgent, and it was coming closer. Maria took a step back. Her hand trembled as she reached for the wall for support. The fear was overwhelming. Every instinct told her to run, but she couldn't. She needed to know. She had to see what had happened. The door to the ICU slowly creaked open. And that's when she saw it. Maria's hands shook as she looked into the ICU room. The fluorescent light above flickered, casting long, shifting shadows across the sterile walls. The machines beeped faster now, almost like they were echoing the pounding of her heart. The smell of antiseptic was stronger here, mixed with something she couldn't name, something metallic, sharp, that made her stomach churn. She took a slow, trembling step forward. Every sound seemed louder, the drip of fluid, the hum of ventilators, even the soft click of her own shoes against the tiled floor. Inside the room, the bed was empty. Maria froze. Her eyes darted around, searching for Lily, searching for her daughter's small frame. But it wasn't Lily who was there. It was Dr. Hammond, bent over a chart, his face pale, eyes wide, hands shaking slightly. Maria's throat tightened. Where is she?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Dr. Hammond looked up slowly, as if trying to measure her reaction. "She's in here," he said softly, stepping aside. Maria's eyes followed his motion to the far corner of the room. There, sitting in a chair beside the bed, was a nurse. But it wasn't any nurse Maria had seen before. The woman's uniform was neat, her face calm, almost too calm. And in her hands, she held something wrapped in a small white cloth. Maria's breath caught. She stepped closer, but Dr. Hammond placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "Don't rush," he said. "You need to understand before you see her." Maria's mind raced. See her? Who? What was in that cloth? Her daughter? No, it couldn't be. She shook her head violently, trying to clear the fear clouding her thoughts. But the fear didn't go away. Instead, it wrapped itself around her chest, making it hard to breathe. She felt like she was standing at the edge of a cliff, about to fall into something dark and unknown. Dr. Hammond took a deep breath, his eyes not leaving hers. "Mrs. Collins," he said slowly, "your daughter made a request tonight. A request I could not ignore. It was serious and unusual. I need you to listen carefully." Maria's heart raced faster, her hands gripping the edge of the chair for support. "Lily, what did she ask?" she whispered. The doctor's lips pressed together. "She asked me to make sure you didn't wake up after surgery. She gave me very specific instructions. I thought it was a misunderstanding. I hoped it was just stress or fear talking. But I soon realized she meant it." Maria felt as if the floor had disappeared beneath her. Her legs wobbled, and she sank into the nearest chair. Her hands covered her mouth, but the trembling didn't stop. No, that can't be true," she whispered. "Lily, my daughter, she wouldn't." Her voice broke, tears forming in her eyes. Dr. Hammond's gaze softened. "I understand, Mrs. Collins. I wanted to believe the same thing. But then, things happened that made it impossible to ignore. And now we are in a situation where we must act carefully. You have to understand, this is delicate. One wrong move, and..." He didn't finish the sentence. Maria didn't need him to. The weight of his words crushed her. The nurse holding the white cloth stepped forward slowly. Maria's eyes widened, her stomach twisting into knots. The cloth was soft, but she could see the faint outline of something small, something delicate. The nurse spoke gently, almost as if she were afraid to scare Maria further. "Mrs. Collins, I know this is difficult. Please, look." Maria's hands trembled as she reached for the cloth. When she uncovered it, her eyes filled with tears, her heart shattering into pieces. It was a tiny medical device, one she didn't fully understand, but she knew its purpose. And then she saw the note attached to it, Lily's handwriting clear and precise, "Make sure she never wakes up. I can't lose her pain again." Maria's world spun. She couldn't understand it. Her daughter, her sweet, kind Lily, could ask something like this? Could she really want her mother to be gone? The words on the note burned into her mind, twisting her thoughts, filling her with a sorrow so deep it made her feel like she was drowning. Dr. Hammond knelt beside her, placing a hand on her arm. "Mrs. Collins, this is not too late. But you need to be strong. We can still manage the situation if we act carefully. You have to trust me." Maria's tears fell freely now. She shook her head, unable to speak. She couldn't trust anyone. How could she trust anyone when the person she loved most in the world had made such a request? The room felt smaller, tighter, as if the walls themselves were closing in. Every sound was sharper, the beep of the monitors, the hum of the ventilators, the soft rustle of the nurse's clothing. Even the rain outside seemed louder, harsher, drumming against the windows like a warning. Suddenly, a soft sound made Maria freeze. It was faint at first, almost like a whisper carried by the wind. Then it grew clearer. "Mom!" "I'm sorry," Maria's heart leapt into her throat. She knew that voice anywhere. It was Lily. But she wasn't in the room. How? Where was she? Dr. Hammond's eyes widened, and he glanced toward the door. "We need to be careful," he said urgently. "If she sees you like this, if she knows you're awake, it could change everything." Maria swallowed hard. Fear and confusion battled inside her. She wanted to run to her daughter, to hug her, to demand answers. But something held her back. The words, the note, the cold determination in Lily's voice earlier, they were warnings. Maria realized that tonight was not just about her surgery. Tonight was about something far bigger, something she didn't understand yet. The nurse stepped closer again, her eyes gentle. "Mrs. Collins," she said softly, "there's more you need to see. Things you need to know. But it's delicate. You have to be ready." Maria nodded, though her hands were still trembling. She didn't know if she could be ready, but she had no choice. The fear and uncertainty wrapped around her like a thick fog. Every instinct screamed to turn and run, but she stayed. She had to face this, whatever it was. Then, a soft beep from the monitor caught her attention. It was slow at first, then faster. Almost like a heartbeat, her heartbeat. But there was something off about it. Something irregular, something wrong. Maria's eyes widened as she realized the device in the nurse's hands was connected to her body. Lily had planned this. She had made sure the doctor and the nurses knew exactly what to do. Maria felt the panic rise. Her chest tightened, and her breath came in short, shallow gasps. She wanted to scream, to run, to fight. But the room seemed to close in on her, the shadows twisting, the lights flickering. She could hear her own heart pounding, the rain hammering against the windows, and the low, mechanical hum of the machines that now seemed like a chorus of warning bells. Dr. Hammond's voice cut through the noise. "We need to move quickly," he said. "You must understand, Mrs. Collins, what Lily did, it's not something anyone could have predicted. And if we don't act now," he didn't finish the sentence, but Maria didn't need him to. She realized, with a chill running through her, that she was no longer in control. Her own daughter had set something in motion, and now Maria was trapped in a situation she barely understood. Fear, sorrow, and disbelief wrapped around her like chains. She felt like she was sinking, unable to breathe, unable to think clearly. And then, the lights flickered one last time. The monitor beeped faster. The rain pounded against the windows, louder than ever. And from somewhere deep in the shadows, Maria heard it again, faint but unmistakable, "Mom, don't wake up, please." Her blood ran cold. She wanted to run, to scream, to demand answers. But she couldn't. She was frozen, caught in a moment of terror she didn't know how to escape. Maria looked at Dr. Hammond, her eyes wide, full of questions, full of fear. But before she could speak, a loud crash came from inside the ICU. Something heavy had fallen. The monitor's alarms started to ring. Maria jumped back, heart racing, eyes wide. And then she saw it, a shadow moving quickly in the far corner, too fast to be human. Her fear turned into panic. She didn't know what she would see next, but she knew, in her bones, that nothing tonight would ever be the same again. Maria's heart was pounding so hard that she thought it might burst from her chest. The shadow in the far corner of the ICU moved too quickly, too silently. She blinked, trying to see clearly, but the dim fluorescent lights flickered above, making everything seem unreal. The machines beeped frantically, warning of something wrong, and the hum of the ventilators seemed to grow louder with each second. Her hands shook uncontrollably as she gripped the edge of the nearest chair, afraid to move, afraid to even breathe. Dr. Hammond took a cautious step forward, his eyes never leaving the corner. "Mrs. Collins, stay calm. Whatever this is, we'll handle it," he said, though Maria could see the tension in his face. His hands trembled slightly, betraying the calm voice he tried to use. Maria's mind raced. "This is my daughter, what has she done?" The thought made her stomach twist painfully. She wanted to scream, but her throat was dry. She wanted to run, but her legs felt frozen, rooted to the spot by fear. The shadow shifted again. Maria caught a glimpse of movement, a quick, small figure, hunched and fast. Her breath caught. It was almost like it was aware of her, watching her. She could feel the fear rising in her chest, thick and suffocating, wrapping around her like chains. The nurse holding the device moved slightly, stepping between Maria and the shadow, but it didn't stop. Whatever it was, it kept moving. Dr. Hammond spoke again, his voice low. "I need you to trust me. Whatever Lily did, we can control it, maybe. But we must act carefully." Maria's hands shook as she nodded, though inside, fear clawed at her chest. She couldn't understand any of this. Her daughter, her sweet, gentle Lily, could never have meant harm, could she? And yet, everything pointed to something terrible. She felt as if she had been pushed into a nightmare she couldn't wake from. A sudden beeping sound cut through the room. The monitor attached to Maria's bed started flashing red. Her heart raced faster. The nurse adjusted the device carefully, murmuring under her breath, but Maria couldn't hear the words. She felt trapped, helpless, as if the walls themselves were closing in. The shadow moved again, closer this time. It wasn't human. It didn't walk. It glided, almost floating across the floor. Maria's breath caught in her throat. Her mind screamed at her to run, but she couldn't. She was frozen, unable to tear her eyes away. Dr. Hammond bent slightly, whispering to the nurse. Maria couldn't hear what they said, but she could see the urgency in their faces. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. The nurse handed him a small control device, pressing buttons quickly, murmuring more words Maria couldn't understand. But the shadow kept moving, faster now, closer to Maria's bed. Her hands gripped the chair so tightly her knuckles turned white. And then, she heard it, Lily's voice. Soft, almost childlike, but filled with an unexplainable determination. "Mom, you shouldn't wake up," the words pierced Maria's heart. Her stomach turned, and she felt a cold sweat covering her body. Her mind screamed for answers. How could Lily, how could her own daughter, say such things? Why would she want this? And yet, the tone in Lily's voice was not cruel. It was, almost pleading. Maria's chest tightened. Dr. Hammond looked at her, his eyes dark and serious. "Mrs. Collins, she's controlling it. Whatever you see, it's her doing. I don't even know how she's doing it. But she has set something in motion that we can't fully predict." Maria felt like she couldn't breathe. She wanted to understand, to ask questions, to demand answers, but all she could do was stare at the moving shadow, her chest aching, tears blurring her vision. The device in the nurse's hands beeped faster. Maria realized, with a shock, that it was connected to her. Whatever Lily had done, she had made sure that Maria couldn't escape it. Fear and disbelief mixed in her chest, creating a suffocating weight that made her want to collapse. Every instinct screamed to fight, but she couldn't. She had never felt so powerless in her life. The shadow moved closer. Maria could see details now. It was small, almost like a doll in shape, but it moved with purpose. The faint outline of her daughter's handwriting was visible on tiny tags attached to it, instructions written in careful letters. The sight made Maria's stomach twist. Her daughter had planned this. She had made every step deliberate. Maria's mind couldn't comprehend the depth of the situation. Her daughter, her own child, had somehow orchestrated this terrifying plan. Suddenly, the shadow stopped. It hovered near the bed, moving slightly, almost as if it were breathing. Maria could feel her heart hammering in her chest. Every part of her body shook with fear and confusion. She wanted to run, to scream, to call out for help, but she couldn't. She was paralyzed, trapped in a moment that felt like it stretched forever. Then, a soft sound echoed through the room. A whisper, almost too soft to hear over the machines and the rain. "Mom, it's for your own good," Maria's breath caught. Her chest tightened painfully. She didn't understand. How could her daughter believe this was for her good? Every instinct in her screamed that something was terribly wrong. The tears fell freely now, streaming down her face, blurring her vision even more. Dr. Hammond moved closer, his face serious, almost grim. "Mrs. Collins, we have to act now," he said. "Whatever Lily set in motion, it could get worse if we wait. We need to stop it before it's too late." Maria nodded shakily, her hands gripping the chair. She wanted to scream at him, to demand answers, but the words wouldn't come. Fear had stolen her voice. The nurse stepped forward, adjusting the device, her hands moving quickly but carefully. Maria could see the sweat glistening on her forehead. The shadow twitched again, responding to something Maria couldn't see. Her heart raced. The fear was overwhelming, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. Every second felt like an eternity. And then, without warning, the shadow moved suddenly toward her bed, faster than before. The alarms on the monitor shrieked. Maria's hands flew to her mouth as she tried to scream, but only a strangled sound came out. The room seemed to spin around her. She wanted to run, to escape, to protect herself, but she couldn't. Her eyes widened in horror as she realized the shadow was not just moving. It was reaching for her, inching closer with a precision that made her blood run cold. And then, she saw it, a small, familiar figure controlling the shadow from the corner. Her daughter, Lily. She was standing there, eyes wide, hands trembling, but filled with a strange, determined calm. Maria's chest tightened so much she thought she might faint. "Lily, what are you doing?" she whispered, barely able to form the words. Lily didn't answer, just kept her eyes on Maria, and in that moment, Maria understood, her daughter had planned this, orchestrated every detail, and now there was no turning back. The shadow stopped just inches from Maria's bed. The monitor beeped wildly, alarms screaming. The rain pounded against the windows like a warning drumbeat. And then, in a soft, chilling voice, Lily said, "Mom, it's time you understood." Maria felt her blood run cold. She wanted to move, to flee, to beg, but her body refused. She was trapped, staring at the shadow and the small, determined figure of her daughter. The fear and disbelief wrapped around her like ice. And deep down, she knew that whatever was about to happen next would change everything, forever. Maria's chest felt tight, as if the air itself had become heavier, pressing down on her. Her hands were clammy, her legs trembling, and the room seemed smaller than ever. She couldn't take her eyes off Lily, who stood at the far corner, controlling the small shadow with quiet precision. The shadow hovered near Maria's bed like a living nightmare, obeying every subtle movement from Lily's hands. Maria's heart pounded so loudly she thought the monitors would stop from the force of it. Dr. Hammond's voice broke through the tension, steady but grave. "Mrs. Collins, you need to hear this. Lily didn't mean to hurt you, at least not in the way you think. She believes she's protecting you." Maria's head snapped toward him. "Protecting me? From what? She wants me to die?" Her voice shook. Tears ran freely down her cheeks. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Her sweet daughter, the child she had held and nurtured, was behind all this terror. Dr. Hammond nodded slowly, his expression heavy. "I know it's hard to understand. But Lily has seen things, suffered things, and she believes that if you wake up after surgery, the pain will never stop. She's convinced she's doing the right thing. But the way she's going about it, it's terrifying and dangerous. We have to stop it now." Maria felt her chest tighten even more. Her mind was spinning. Pain? What pain? She had been sick, yes, but she never imagined her daughter could see her suffering this way and plan something like this. The shadows, the devices, the whispering voice, everything was part of a plan she could barely comprehend. Her stomach churned, a mixture of fear, confusion, and heartbreak so deep it felt like it would break her apart. The shadow in the room twitched again, almost impatiently. Maria could see that it was moving in direct response to Lily's subtle motions. Every flick of Lily's wrist made it glide closer to her bed. Maria's breath caught. The fear was suffocating. She wanted to scream, to cry, to pull herself away, but she couldn't. She was frozen, paralyzed by shock and terror. Lily spoke softly, her voice trembling but firm. "Mom, I can't let you suffer anymore. Please, you have to understand. I'm doing this for you." Maria's throat tightened. She wanted to reach out to her daughter, to hug her, to tell her she loved her. But fear kept her frozen. Doing this for me? What has she done? She thought, every part of her screaming in disbelief. Dr. Hammond stepped closer to Maria, lowering his voice. "Mrs. Collins, we have to act fast. Whatever she's controlling, it's not just a device. It's something more, something we don't fully understand. If she continues, you may be in serious danger." Maria's stomach dropped. She felt dizzy, her hands trembling violently. She wanted to move, to protect herself, but every instinct told her that one wrong step could make everything worse. The nurse beside Dr. Hammond adjusted the device carefully, her eyes flicking to Lily and back. Maria could see her worry, the urgency in her movements. The room seemed to shrink with tension. Every beep, every hum, every flicker of light felt amplified. She could feel the air itself vibrating with suspense, heavy and suffocating. And then, something unexpected happened. Lily's shadow hesitated. It stopped moving for a brief moment, almost as if it were listening. Maria's heart skipped a beat. She could see the tiny movements in Lily's hands, the slight trembling of her fingers. And then Lily spoke again, quieter this time. "Mom, I just can't watch you hurt like this anymore." Maria's tears flowed uncontrollably. Her heart broke into pieces. She had raised her daughter, cared for her, loved her, and now, she didn't recognize the child standing before her. She wanted to scream at her, to tell her it was wrong, to beg her to stop, but her voice wouldn't come. All she could do was stare, helpless, at the shadow moving closer to her bed, and the daughter she barely recognized. Dr. Hammond whispered urgently, leaning close to Maria. "We have a chance to stop it now, but you have to stay calm. If you panic, if you do anything sudden, we might lose control. You have to trust me." Maria nodded shakily, though panic still gripped her. She wanted to run, to pull away, but she knew it wouldn't work. Whatever Lily had created, whatever she was controlling, it wasn't something Maria could fight alone. The shadow twitched again, closer and closer to her bed. Maria's breath came in short, shallow gasps. Every part of her body screamed at her to move, to escape, to fight, but she was paralyzed by terror and heartbreak. The beeping of the monitors grew louder, urgent, echoing her own panic. She could feel the cold sweat on her forehead, the trembling of her legs, the shaking of her hands. The room felt alive, hostile, and unyielding. Then Lily did something Maria could not have expected. She stepped closer to her bed. Her eyes were wide, desperate, almost pleading. "Mom, you have to listen," she said softly. "I'm trying to save you from pain. I can't let it continue. Please, forgive me." Maria wanted to speak, to tell her it was okay, to reach out and hug her, but fear and disbelief held her still. Dr. Hammond moved between them quickly, holding his hands out. "Mrs. Collins, stay calm. Lily, stop for a moment, please. We need to think this through." Lily's eyes flickered, and the shadow paused midair. For the first time, Maria felt a tiny flicker of hope. Maybe they could stop this, maybe they could undo whatever had been set in motion. But before Maria could fully breathe, a loud, sudden alarm blared from the monitor. The shadow twitched violently, responding instantly to something. Maria gasped. The room seemed to shake. Her heart raced uncontrollably. The rain outside hammered against the windows like a warning drumbeat. And then, a whisper echoed through the room, soft and chilling, "Mom, don't fight it, please." Maria's blood ran cold. The voice was unmistakable. It was Lily. And the words made her heart stop. She looked at Dr. Hammond, eyes wide with terror. What does she mean?" she whispered. But before he could answer, the shadow surged forward again, faster than ever, heading straight toward Maria's bed. Maria felt her body freeze. Her mind screamed to act, to push, to escape, but she couldn't. Every instinct told her that this moment was critical, that her life, and perhaps her relationship with her daughter, hung by a thread. And then, the lights in the room flickered violently, plunging everything into brief darkness. When the lights came back on, the shadow was gone. But Maria could feel it, lurking, waiting, controlled by the one person she had always trusted most. She realized, with a chill that ran through her very bones, that tonight was far from over. Whatever Lily had started, it wasn't finished. And Maria knew that the next move could change everything forever. Maria's body felt weak, almost as if her legs could no longer hold her. She sank into the chair near her bed, gripping the armrest so tightly that her knuckles turned white. The air in the ICU felt heavier than before, thick with tension, fear, and the sharp smell of antiseptic. The machines hummed steadily, but their familiar sounds now felt strange, ominous, like warnings she couldn't ignore. She still couldn't take her eyes off Lily, who stood at the far corner, motionless for a moment, as if gathering strength for what came next. Dr. Hammond crouched beside Maria, his expression tense. "Mrs. Collins, we need to understand something first," he said softly. "Lily isn't acting like a normal child. Whatever she has done, she has convinced herself it's for your safety. She believes that your pain will never end if you wake up fully. That's why she's doing this, controlling everything in the room. But she doesn't realize how dangerous it is." Maria's chest tightened further. Her daughter, controlling everything? How? She wondered, fear twisting in her stomach. Tears blurred her vision. She wanted to run to Lily, to hug her, to tell her it was okay, that she didn't need to do this, but something inside told her it was too late for that. Lily's determination was too strong. She had already set things in motion that no one could easily stop. The shadow from before reappeared, small and fast, moving like a silent predator across the floor. Maria's eyes widened. Her heartbeat thudded painfully in her chest. She could feel the danger, sense it in the way the shadow obeyed every subtle signal from Lily. Her daughter wasn't just a child anymore, she was something beyond understanding, and Maria's fear deepened with each passing second. Lily's voice came again, quiet but firm. "Mom, I can't let you suffer anymore. I'm trying to help you." The words felt like knives in Maria's heart. Her chest ached, her eyes burned with tears, and her stomach twisted painfully. She wanted to scream, to cry, to plead with Lily to stop, but her voice caught in her throat. She was trapped, paralyzed by the shock and disbelief. Dr. Hammond's hand rested on Maria's arm. "We can still stop this," he said, urgency in his voice. "But we have to move carefully. If you panic, if Lily senses fear, it could make things worse." Maria nodded shakily, trying to steady her breathing. She wanted to trust him, but fear still wrapped itself tightly around her chest. The shadow moved closer to the bed again, responding to Lily's subtle gestures. Maria looked at Lily and noticed something she hadn't before, the raw fear hidden behind her daughter's determination. Lily's eyes were wide, her hands trembling slightly. It was a mixture of fear and love, twisted together. Maria's heart ached. She wanted to tell her daughter that she understood, that she loved her, that she didn't need to do this, but the moment didn't allow it. The shadow's movement reminded her of the immediate danger, and she felt powerless. Suddenly, the shadow lunged closer to the bed, faster than Maria expected. She gasped, leaning back in terror. The monitor attached to her began beeping frantically. Dr. Hammond stepped forward, placing himself between Maria and the shadow. He pressed buttons on the small control device the nurse held, murmuring instructions under his breath. But the shadow didn't stop. It moved like it had a mind of its own, yet every twitch in turn was tied to Lily. Maria's hands flew to her mouth. "Lily, stop," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. But Lily didn't respond immediately. She seemed frozen for a moment, torn between her love for her mother and the determination to follow through with her plan. The shadow paused midair, quivering as if waiting for her command. Maria could see the conflict in her daughter's eyes, the struggle between fear and love. Dr. Hammond's voice grew sharper. "Mrs. Collins, you need to do something. Show her that you trust her, that you understand. Otherwise, it could spiral out of control." Maria's mind raced. Could she do that? Could she risk showing trust when fear gripped her so tightly? She swallowed hard, tears streaming, and took a shaky step toward Lily. "Lily. I know you love me," Maria whispered, her voice breaking. "I know you only want to protect me, but I need you to stop this now. Please, trust me too." Her words trembled in the air, fragile yet filled with desperate hope. For a moment, everything froze, the shadow stopped, hovering in midair. Lily blinked rapidly, her hands shaking as she looked at her mother. Maria felt her chest tighten, sensing the tension in the room, the fragile balance between love and danger. Then, a loud alarm blared from the monitor. The shadow twitched violently again, faster and more erratic than before. Maria's heart jumped into her throat. The room seemed to spin around her. The rain outside hammered against the windows, loud and urgent, echoing the chaos inside. Dr. Hammond shouted instructions, and the nurse pressed buttons on the device. But the shadow didn't respond. Maria's stomach sank. She realized with a chill that Lily's control was slipping. Whatever she had done, it was powerful, but not perfect. Panic gripped Maria's chest. If she didn't act carefully, if Lily lost control completely, she couldn't imagine what would happen next. The room felt alive, hostile, pressing down on her, suffocating her with fear. Then, Lily's voice rang out again, louder this time. "Mom, you have to understand." The shadow froze in place, responding instantly. Maria felt a cold sweat trickle down her spine. Her daughter's power over the room, over this strange, terrifying force, was frightening. And yet, there was still fear behind her eyes. Maria realized that this was still her daughter inside the determination, still the child she loved, but twisted by desperation. Maria's heart ached. She wanted to reach out, to hold her, to tell her it was okay. But fear kept her frozen. She could feel every second stretching like an eternity, knowing that one wrong move could make everything worse. The room seemed to vibrate with tension, the shadows twisting, the rain outside hammering in a relentless rhythm. Suddenly, the shadow lunged again, closer to the bed, faster than before. Maria gasped. Dr. Hammond shouted, trying to control the device, but the shadow's movement was erratic. Maria's eyes filled with tears, and her chest ached with fear and heartbreak. She could feel the delicate balance between love, control, and danger hanging by a thread. And then, a whisper echoed through the room, soft but chilling. "Mom, it's too late to turn back now." Maria's blood ran cold. Her heart hammered in her chest. She looked at Lily, whose face was pale and trembling, yet determined. The words pierced Maria's heart. She realized, with a shock that left her breathless, that the next moment could change everything, forever. Maria felt trapped, as if the walls of the ICU were closing in on her. Every machine, every shadow, every distant drip of fluid seemed amplified, echoing her panic. The shadow hovered near her bed, moving with an unnatural grace, responding to the smallest gestures from Lily's trembling hands. Maria could feel the weight of her daughter's fear, determination, and confusion all at once. It was overwhelming. She had never felt so powerless in her life. Dr. Hammond leaned closer, whispering urgently. "Mrs. Collins, you have to understand. Lily's intentions aren't cruel. She genuinely believes she's saving you from pain. But her methods, they're dangerous. You need to reach her, emotionally, before it's too late." Maria swallowed hard, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her voice felt trapped in her throat, but she tried anyway. "Lily, please. I know you love me. I know you're scared. But this isn't the way. You're scaring me, please, stop." Lily's eyes flickered, a mix of emotions crossing her face, fear, guilt, and fierce determination. The shadow paused, quivering midair, as if waiting for her command. Maria's chest tightened. She felt the child she had raised, the same child who used to run to her with scraped knees and scraped hearts, somewhere beneath this intense determination. But fear had twisted that love into something dangerous. The nurse adjusted the device, her hands shaking slightly. Dr. Hammond's voice was calm but urgent. "Mrs. Collins, you need to speak from the heart. Tell her why she doesn't need to do this. Show her she can trust you." Maria nodded, though her body still trembled violently. She took a deep breath, forcing her words through tears. "Lily, you don't have to do this alone. I've always loved you. I always will. Nothing can change that. Please, trust me. Please, come back to me." For a moment, Lily seemed frozen. Her small hands shook uncontrollably. The shadow stilled, its hovering paused, as if listening. Maria felt a glimmer of hope, fragile and tiny. Maybe her words could reach her daughter. Maybe she could remind Lily of the bond they shared, the love they had for each other, strong enough to overcome this dangerous plan. But then, something shifted. The shadow twitched violently, moving unpredictably. Maria's heart leapt into her throat. The monitors beeped frantically. The rain outside pounded harder, slamming against the windows like a warning. Her stomach churned with terror. The fragile moment of hope felt like it could shatter at any second. Dr. Hammond's voice cut through the chaos. "We have to act fast. Whatever control Lily has over that shadow, it's slipping. One wrong move, and it could be catastrophic." Maria nodded again, her eyes locked on her daughter. She could see the struggle in Lily's eyes. The child wanted to help, wanted to protect, but didn't fully understand the danger she had created. The shadow moved again, faster this time, gliding closer to the bed. Maria's chest tightened painfully. Every instinct screamed for her to run, but her body refused to move. Fear and love collided within her, leaving her paralyzed. Tears streamed down her face, mixing with the sweat of panic. She wanted to scream, to cry, to pull her daughter into her arms, but she couldn't. Then Lily spoke, her voice trembling. "Mom, I don't want to lose you, but I can't bear to see you hurt anymore. I can't stop myself." Maria's heart broke. Her child's love was so strong, yet so twisted by fear. She had to find a way to reach her. She swallowed her terror and tried again. "Lily," Maria said softly, her voice shaking but steady, "I trust you. I know you want to help me. But hurting me, or controlling things this way, won't save me. It will only make things worse. I need you with me, not against me. Please, come back to me." For a brief, shining moment, Lily's hands stilled completely. The shadow hung in place, as if listening, unsure of its next move. Maria's chest ached with hope and fear, a fragile tension hanging in the air. Could her words reach her daughter? Could she break through the fear that had twisted Lily's intentions into something dangerous? And then, the shadow surged violently forward, ignoring Lily's hesitations. Maria's heart skipped a beat. The monitors blared alarms, echoing in the small, tense room. Dr. Hammond shouted instructions, pressing buttons on the device the nurse held. But the shadow moved faster than anyone could control, gliding straight toward Maria's bed with terrifying speed. Maria's hands flew to her face, her body frozen with panic. The room felt alive with danger, every shadow twisting, every sound magnified. Her mind raced, trying to think of a way to stop it, to protect herself, to save Lily, and yet everything seemed out of her control. And then, Lily screamed. Her voice broke through the chaos, raw with fear and desperation. "No! Stop! I don't want to hurt her." The shadow froze midair, quivering violently. Maria felt a flicker of hope ignite in her chest. Her daughter's voice, fearful, loving, and desperate, had reached it. But before Maria could fully exhale, the shadow twitched violently again, responding to something unseen. The monitors blared, the lights flickered, and the rain outside pounded relentlessly. Maria's heart hammered in her chest. She realized with horror that even Lily might not have full control. Her mind raced. What would happen if she failed to reach her daughter in time? The room felt like it was closing in on her. The stakes were higher than ever, and one mistake could change everything forever. And then, a soft, chilling whisper echoed through the room, "Mom, you can't stop it now." Maria's blood ran cold. She looked at Lily, who was pale and shaking, her small hands desperately trying to regain control. The room seemed suspended in a terrifying moment, the air heavy with fear, love, and danger. Maria realized that the next few seconds could decide everything, their lives, their bond, everything they held dear. Maria's chest felt tight, each breath coming in sharp, shallow gasps. The room seemed to spin around her, shadows stretching and twisting as the monitors screamed alarms. The rain outside battered the windows, relentless and loud, echoing the panic that clutched at her heart. The shadow hovered near the edge of her bed, twitching, responding to Lily's trembling hands. Maria could feel the danger in every movement. It was alive, almost aware, a creature of fear and precision that mirrored her daughter's own confusion and desperation. Dr. Hammond stood close, voice low but urgent. "Mrs. Collins, whatever happens now, stay calm. Your reaction matters more than you know. If you panic, if Lily senses fear in your voice or your movements, it could make everything worse." Maria nodded weakly, her hands clutching the bed sheets as if holding on to her very life. Her mind raced. "I have to save her. I have to save Lily, and myself." The thought made her chest ache with love, terror, and desperation all at once. Lily's small voice rang out again, strained and fearful. "Mom! I can't stop it. I don't want to, but it's too strong." Her hands shook violently as she tried to control the shadow. Maria's tears fell freely. She wanted to reach out, to hold her, to tell her it would be okay, but she couldn't. Every second felt like a lifetime. She could feel the bond between them strained by fear and misunderstanding, but she also sensed the love beneath it all. Lily hadn't wanted to hurt her, she only wanted to protect her, twisted as it had become. "Lily!" Maria's voice cracked, trembling. "I trust you. I know you love me. You don't have to control anything. Just come to me. Please." Her words were raw, emotional, desperate. She took another shaky step forward, reaching out with trembling hands. The shadow twitched violently, as if hesitating between obedience to Lily and the pull of Maria's voice. Dr. Hammond murmured instructions to the nurse, pressing buttons on the device, but the shadow seemed to resist. It was like a storm contained in a tiny, twisting shape, dangerous and unpredictable. Maria could feel her heart pounding so hard it seemed it might explode. Her stomach churned with terror, yet beneath it all was a fragile thread of hope that clung to her like a lifeline. Then something shifted. Lily's voice softened, quivering with relief and fear at the same time. "Mom. I can't. I don't want to hurt you anymore." The shadow froze midair, quivering violently. Maria felt a rush of emotion, hope, fear, love, and sorrow all collided inside her chest. Tears blurred her vision, but for the first time, she sensed that her words had reached her daughter. The tension in the room was unbearable. Every breath, every flicker of light, every soft beeping of the monitors felt magnified. The shadow hovered, indecisive, responding to Lily's trembling hands. Maria realized this was the pivotal moment. She could feel it in her bones. Everything depended on the next few seconds. Could she reach her daughter emotionally? Could she pull Lily back from the edge of this terrifying plan? Maria took a deep, shaky breath and whispered, "Lily, I forgive you. I know you only wanted to protect me. I love you, no matter what. Please, let it go. Come to me. Let me hold you." Her voice wavered, breaking into sobs. The room seemed to hold its breath, the storm outside mirroring the storm inside. For a long moment, nothing moved. Then Lily's hands trembled, faltering. The shadow twitched violently, as if fighting against the pull of her emotions. Maria's heart thudded painfully. The monitors beeped frantically, the rain pounded harder, and the lights flickered. Every instinct screamed at her to stay calm, to keep speaking, to keep reaching out. And then, finally, Lily collapsed to her knees, tears streaming down her face. The shadow froze, motionless. Maria's chest tightened with a mixture of fear, relief, and love. She took careful steps toward her daughter, reaching out with trembling hands. "It's okay, Lily, it's okay. I'm here. I love you. You don't have to do this anymore." Lily buried her face in Maria's chest, sobbing uncontrollably. The shadow remained motionless, as if acknowledging the shift in control. Dr. Hammond and the nurse exhaled, tense lines on their faces finally softening. Maria held her daughter close, feeling the trembling subside gradually, but the sense of danger had not fully left the room. Then, a faint whisper came from the shadow, soft and chilling. "This isn't over." Maria froze, her arms tightening around Lily. Her heart skipped a beat. Even though Lily had regained some control, something about the whisper told her that the danger hadn't disappeared completely. There was still a lingering threat, a shadow of fear that refused to vanish. Maria pulled back slightly, holding Lily's face in her hands. "Whatever it is, we face it together. You and me. Always." Lily nodded weakly, tears still streaming, and hugged her mother tightly. Maria felt her chest ache with love and fear intertwined. She knew they had survived this moment, but she also knew the night was far from over. And then, a loud, sudden sound came from the corner of the ICU, a crash, sharp and unexpected. The shadow twitched violently, as if startled. Maria's heart leapt into her throat. The lights flickered, the monitors beeped, and the room seemed to tilt into chaos again. Her eyes widened in terror. Whatever they had just survived wasn't finished. Maria held Lily close, her mind racing. She realized with a cold chill that the next moments could determine everything: life, death, and the fragile bond between mother and daughter. The storm outside mirrored the storm inside, relentless, unyielding, and terrifying. Maria's heart pounded so hard she felt it might burst. She held Lily tightly, her arms trembling, her chest aching with fear, love, and relief all at once. The shadow, still hovering near the edge of the bed, quivered violently, responding to the smallest flickers of Lily's trembling hands. It had not disappeared entirely, but it seemed weaker now, slightly uncertain, like it sensed the bond between mother and daughter growing stronger. Dr. Hammond and the nurse stood a few steps back, tense but alert. "Stay calm, Mrs. Collins," Dr. Hammond whispered. "She's regaining control, but we have to help her." Maria nodded, taking slow, deep breaths, trying to steady her own shaking body. She focused entirely on her daughter, on the fragile human connection that was now their only lifeline. Lily's voice was soft and shaky. "Mom, I don't want to hurt you anymore. I just wanted to protect you." I couldn't bear to see you in pain." Tears ran down her cheeks. Maria stroked her daughter's hair gently, whispering, "I know, Lily. I know. I love you, and I trust you. You don't have to carry this burden alone. We face it together." The shadow paused, hovering motionless. Maria felt a tiny spark of hope. The fear was still there, lingering like a storm cloud, but love had begun to pull it away. She realized that what Lily had done, though terrifying, came from a place of pure love, twisted by fear and confusion. She pressed herself closer to her daughter, holding her as tightly as she could. Slowly, Lily's trembling hands lowered. The shadow hesitated, then slowly drifted back, less aggressive, more passive. Maria could feel her heartbeat beginning to calm. She whispered again, softly, "It's okay, Lily. You're safe. I'm here. We're together. Always." The shadow shivered one last time and then seemed to vanish, leaving a quiet stillness in the room. Dr. Hammond exhaled deeply, his face softening. "It's over, for now," he said quietly. Maria felt her knees weaken, relief washing over her in overwhelming waves. She held Lily tightly, sobbing into her shoulder, feeling the warmth of her child, the fragility of their bond, and the power of love to overcome fear. Lily pulled back slightly, looking into her mother's eyes, her own wet with tears. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I didn't mean to scare you. I couldn't stand the thought of losing you to pain." Maria kissed her daughter's forehead, shaking her head gently. "I know, Lily. I know. You were only trying to protect me, and now I understand. But next time, we face our fears together. You don't have to do it alone." The rain outside slowed to a soft drizzle. The monitors beeped calmly now, the storm in the room replaced by a quiet, fragile peace. Maria felt the tension leaving her body gradually. She had faced terror, fear, and heartbreak, but love had been stronger. Her daughter's eyes reflected a mix of shame, fear, and relief. They had survived the night, and though the memory of what had happened would linger forever, they had each other. Dr. Hammond stepped closer. "Mrs. Collins, you've both done something remarkable tonight." Lily nearly lost control, but love and trust brought her back. "Take it slow, be gentle with each other. Recovery isn't just about the body, it's about the heart." Maria nodded, holding Lily even tighter. "Thank you, Doctor. For everything." Lily whispered softly, clutching her mother's hand. "I promise, Mom, no more shadows, no more plans like this. I'll never let fear make me do something that could hurt you again." Maria smiled through her tears, stroking her daughter's hair. "I know, Lily. We're safe now, together." For the first time that night, Maria felt a fragile sense of peace. The danger had passed, the shadow no longer lurking. The room was quiet except for the soft hum of the machines and the gentle patter of the rain outside. She knew there would be more challenges ahead, more moments of fear or misunderstanding, but they would face them together, stronger than before. Maria held Lily close one last time, whispering, "I love you, and I always will. Nothing can ever change that. Not fear, not pain, not even shadows." Lily nodded, resting her head against her mother's chest. They stayed that way for a long time, wrapped in each other's arms, letting the warmth of love and trust heal the fear that had threatened to consume them. And in that quiet moment, Maria understood something profound: love is stronger than fear. Love can calm the darkest shadows, guide the lost, and restore hope even in the most terrifying situations. The night had been long, painful, and full of suspense, but they had survived. Together. Maria looked at her daughter and smiled through her tears. "We made it, Lily. We're okay now." Lily smiled back, faint but real, and squeezed her mother's hand tightly. The room was calm, the storm outside softened to a drizzle, and Maria knew that though scars would remain, their bond had grown even stronger. If you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. Every story has shadows, but love and trust can always guide us back to the light.